Mobile, you can share it.
Well, Mark.
And there's no real issue about not having mobile coverage.
Well, the mobile coverage is pretty much everywhere now.
I think if you were to try and get 24 million people tomorrow, it would. But of course, none of these projects try and get 24 million people tomorrow. What you do is you go small, little by little, and we would never be able to catch up with the speed at which mobile penetration is happening. So, obviously, as we penetrate communities, we pick the leaders that are,
of course,
and so they all have phones. They're all literate or have access to literacy or are numerically literate, and so the pattern of diffusion.
But Mark, you mentioned Nokia. As I remember it, Nokia has a similar operation in India now, maybe in other places. Do you feel in competition with them? Do you see them as potential? I'm sure even Google might have something like that on this.
Yes, I mean, we've spoken to Nokia and to Google, and I think that these are all different models that are being experimented, which is fantastic, and it's great for the consumer and it's great for the industry. We've all got slightly different models. Nokia in India is not selling to businesses, it's going for the mass market, individual farmers at $1.50. World Bank has just started a survey on them, mixed results, looking very promising. And they've got sort of different models, whether you're a farm leader, an individual, or so they're going to really sort of study that. Nokia coming into Africa really needs partners that build the content. So we're talking to them about being the content provider. So I think, and the same with Google. So I think that in the end, it's more like collaboration than competition.
I'll have to remind you that our former project provided you the first platform, I suspect, to give information about TradeNet.
Yes.
That was our mobile Ghana conference at the Kofi Annan Center.
That's right.
And right now, you've earned yourself a place on the next AfricaNext SiloBreaker.
Fantastic. I look forward to it.
Institutions and agriculture.
Yeah.
Okay. But sorry, go on.
The reason I asked for this about coverage is that there's a Danish company who actually, have been using quite efficient technology in Mexico and Brazil, where you create internet
mini cells.
Mini cells. Like using decks actually to create mobile connection within the community.
Okay.
So you create connectivity to villages around. So it's not like having a telephone, but it's actually that you get a phone, your own phone, in a village where you're not. It's not economic for
right, and the phones are connecting to the base station how?
Yeah.
GSM or Wi-Fi or?
Could be anything.
Yeah. I know that Steve Song at there's the potato thing that's in Soweto and looking at the favelas in Brazil, where you combine sort of a local network with ATAs and old phone systems and build kind of localized networks.
But this is quite kind of a cheap technology.
Yeah.
You can actually get voice and data transmission to your phone in villages.
Yeah. At this stage, we're still dealing with issues. We're generally going in and teaching people how to text. Lots of people are texting. They learn it very quickly. In some cases, we can even bring in phones and test it. So I think that the curve to data connectivity we're not seeing in any of the rural areas at this stage, but I think it'll come very, very quickly, and we will build applications that are a little bit more intuitive than SMS. Coding SMSs don't really work at all.
But also, I believe there are various segments of the market. I can imagine. I had a student actually. I think he stayed part of the operation at Abobloshi, and Rabiu Asante. I don't know if you met him.
I don't know him.
But essentially, the impression I get from reading bits and pieces of his thesis is that there's a segmentation in the market. There are big wholesalers who actually, if I remember correctly, but normally they were employing their relatives to do their information sourcing and so forth. So, what I'm trying to say is that I can see this data rural segmenting a certain aspect of the agribusiness chain.
Well, I think one of the lessons that we've learned and what we've changed moving from TradeNet to eSoko is that we've recognized that it's not one market out there.
Right, sure.
But that it's thousands and thousands of markets, and they're all based on your sort of social capital and your social connections. And if you can't quite apply that, and so living within the context of Facebook and Orkut and Twitter and so forth, and then thinking and looking at how these communities are interacting, where trust is such a precious commodity, and people will do deals that are perhaps not as financially beneficial, but they know they'll get paid. You sort of begin to see that there are social networks at play within these commercial markets that are extremely important. And so what effectively on Isoka you have to do is to create your network. And then you can make your content private or public, or you can filter your content by your network. And what we would like to try and explore, not too soon, but is the concept of something like LinkedIn for Africa at that level. Like, can I trust you because you know Amos and I know Amos? I don't know you, but can I trust you? Or are you affiliated? One particular market group or association has ways of risk reduction strategies, and even for financial services going in the market.
I should send you what my friend Mauluche Christian, the top spider. Well, I mean, our studies on fishermen, that's the most important thing that came out. The whole thing's about trust.
Yeah.
You see, I mean, my own argument was that my most theoretical argument was that there's so much private trust, but not enough trust above
no
people
public trust.
Not public trust. So there's a.
Well, I think where you can introduce accountability, because there's data can be captured and stored and can be accessed by people. Just that theory alone suddenly opens up all sorts of possibilities to address the issues around public trust.
Well, I mean,
people can get.
But do you think there is a need or a market or an interest for building these kind of connectivity villages here? I mean,
look, I have always argued from the way
in this country.
I'm not sure. I mean, I think that the villages are getting connected through GSM and through 3G, and that's sort of happening. And there's very broad coverage, and the operators say every year, well, next year we'll have 100% coverage, and they never get there. But I mean, I don't think that, if we're talking about subsistence farmers, I don't think we're trying to reach subsistence farmers with these kinds of services, and that's really.
No, I have a different view, because I remember when I started studying these things about 6 years ago, the first thing I said was that, look, what will really work in this context is video. And I remember we had a top session at the Kofi Annan Center again, a much smaller thing, and everybody was laughing at me. How can we talk about video with the bandwidth that we have? But really, everything, because the way these guys operate, it's very important for the fisherman in Mori to be able to see his trader in Kumasi, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So that if we get cheap enough, I mean, they don't need to understand the technology. I mean, like these shows in the Indians and...
Well, I mean, it is a very exciting time because these technologies are emerging and there are options. And the cost of bandwidth right now, I mean, this week, we're finding out that a megabyte of data at the beginning of this year was costing us wholesale in this market $2,500. 1 meg. We're now 6 months into the year getting quotations for around $300 a megabyte. So we are seeing a absolute collapse in the cost of connectivity, which won't be passed on to consumers very quickly because all the ISPs are desperate to finally come